Let's go.
You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
Making Data Simple podcast listeners, I am Al Martin. I'm your host, and I have Ian Smith here with me. Ian is the co-founder of Lighthouse Technology, which leverages data and AI to improve IT operational efficiency and client experience. Ian, I'm going to act like we have never even met before. I'm going to have some fun. We're just going to get to know one another again right in front of the audience. But as I mentioned before, you have a long history. You've founded a lot of different companies. You worked for IBM in product management for storage. You are the founder, man. That should be your nickname. So welcome to the show.
You're very kind. I'll looking at you on the screen, I feel as though I'm channeling my inner Al Martin with the shaved head, slightly graying stubble, and spectacles to help us see.
Yeah, you've got the look. Hey, look, you've been doing a lot of different stuff. Do you stay in a job longer than 3 years?
The blockchain one I did, not because I wanted to. I have moved through lots of different phases. The whole 3-year thing is just kind of, it's happened. It's happened because I love to start things. I love that early phase of building. Like, my name's actually Smith. I was looking at a Smith in history. I think are people who kind of blacksmiths, the people who make things. And then when it gets to this point of like operational stability and repetition and tuning, my mind can kind of wander into the next challenge. I kind of like the hard things. I feel as though I'm magnetized to the hard things.
Is that a detriment sometimes, though? Because I feel you, and sometimes, I like really getting in the trenches and stuff like that, but then it becomes easy. You would think that that's the time to coast or whatever, but that's when you get bored and want to do something different.
It's a burden to bear, I think. Do you know, with everything going on in the crazy world at the moment, I was recently drawn to reading The Unabomber's Manifesto by Ted Kaczynski, written in 1995. Yes. And it's very much a narrative around, technology and freedom. And can freedom really exist with technology? And to kind of answer your question, there's 3 states a human can be in. This like doing easy things that are really easily achievable, doing hard things that are achievable, and doing hard things that aren't achievable. And to kind of find joy, you need to exist within the middle. And, I've done things that I've found easy and achieved quite quickly, but I love the things that you've really got to demonstrate consistency over time, like whether it's in the gym or at work. It's that, have I got the ability to behave in a certain way consistently over time, and it be achievable? The blockchain one wasn't achievable, and that was extremely difficult. That was like trying to move an unmovable object, but trying to exist within that mode is a challenge, but deeply fulfilling if you can.
Just carrying this a little bit further, in the blockchain one that you talked about, it was like you said, it's like moving something that's unmovable. But with your kind of mindset of really liking the hard things, do you know when to walk away soon?
It's a great question, and I think it is there are so many narratives around, never give up, success is just around the next corner, those who give up, we're only one step away from success. There's the grind mentality. There's the whole point about resilience. Contemporary entrepreneurship is surrounded in this kind of language of persistence. And everybody's got to know when they get to a point where it's becoming detrimental to them and the people around them. And I think that you've got to be super objective about that, Al. And I love the whole persistence. I love the whole resilience, and those things can be applied. But you have to be objective really about your ability to change the big things. And I think that's when ego is really diminished in the shadow of reality. And as persistent and as resilient as you can be, that there is a point where reality shadows ego, and you have to be humble enough to accept that, I think.
Well, if you're being objective, then if you look back on that, Were you able to withdraw in an optimal amount of time, or what you would expect? Or did you say, no, I learned a lot because I carried it too far? Or
it probably went a little bit too far. I think it probably went a little bit too far. My underlying hypothesis for the business was, and I do see the same thing with AI, blockchain, very similar. Both of those technologies, to be successful, rely on some pliability of the human form. And, when you're dealing with traditional infrastructure, storage, compute, network, processing, cloud, those in some ways are abstracted from human behavior. Blockchain and AI, which, I think we both existed under Ginny Rometty's domain. They were the strategic intent of IBM back in 2012, 2013. And what I failed to realize, and it only realized as I progressed through, that both of those technologies, AI and blockchain, to be successful, fundamentally need people to behave differently. And, the hypothesis for my blockchain business was to fix the really large challenges on a global scale. We would have to cooperate and collaborate better as organizations, as countries, and to build a data platform that could support trusted data sharing and access seemed as an enabler to that. But as socio-political events have emerged, I feel as though we're moving back into somewhat of an arms race in terms of organizations looking for competitive differentiation. So the world started to move away incrementally from my thesis, and therefore there was a point of divergence where I said, look, I've chose the wrong path.
So I'll get back to thesis in a second. But before I go further, let me pause for a second. I don't think I gave you the proper opportunity to introduce yourself in the way you would like to. Tell us a little bit about Ian Smith, the blacksmith, where you come from, what gets you motivated, and what brings you to today.
Very, very humble beginnings in the north of England, a very working class background. I had very parents who were very positive about upward trajectory. I was kind of born in that whole conservative era in the UK with the emerging middle class, this a political stance to enable the middle class to try and move upwards through the application within vocation and university. I failed some of my exams, so I wasn't the smartest, but I ended up, fortunately, I failed maths, which wasn't ideal. I ended up, I just, then a few
lucky... Look at you now. That's the deal.
I know. It's crazy. I struggle to remember my PIN number. Listen, with AI, we even talk about the contemporary ways of learning, but, maths was something that kind of fell through the way. But I ended up actually in humanities and studied geology, and I spent a number of years in geology and worked in British Antarctic Survey. Ended up using some amazing technology. It was actually an IBM RS-6000 on a research ship, the James Clark Ross.
Right.
And my usage of this, it was a icebreaker. It was an Antarctic research vessel. And because of public money, it just had this amazing computer system on a gyro. And I was so fascinated by it. I just threw myself into it. And that was just the beginning of this technology journey that's kind of lasted 24 years.
That's awesome. So what gave you your ambition to start companies? Because how many of you started now? I need to go through LinkedIn, and I think I don't know how many it was. I quit scrolling.
I think it's four or five tech companies. I planted a vineyard, and I have a wine business.
Really?
Yeah, never do that.
You're never do all over the place.
Never do that. I was very fortunate I was fortunate to have some good tech outcomes, and I convinced myself I was this man of the earth and needed tangible product and tangible outcome, and I got into farming and winemaking, which was a phenomenal learning journey. And you kind of realize that my heart goes out to anyone in farming, anyone who has to rely on the climate and the earth. It's just so unpredictable. But created a great wine, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. Got the vines from Alsace. Created an English sparkling wine. Won some awards. I lost a whole load of money on it, Al. But what I would say is it taught me to take pleasure in seeing people smile when they enjoy the wine. But it was a fascinating learning journey. Fortunately, it's behind me now, and I'm very much enjoying being back in technology.
So you don't even have that on the side or anything?
I do. I've got about 12,000 bottles of wine to get through, Al. So if you're ever passing and you just want to have a barbecue and have some sparkling wine, let's do it.
So you gotta tell me even a little bit more on this. I don't care about the listeners; they'll just have to pay. They just have to listen in.
Of course.
You and I must be spirits from the same world here, because I think the idea of winemaking is super sexy. Meaning, like next week, I'm going to Napa with friends. We go usually every year. We did miss last year. The year before that, I went 3 times though. And man, I'm so enamored by the vineyards, the process, the grit, the tastings. And I'm sure I see all the good side or more of the good side, but I'm not afraid of a little work. But everybody I've talked to, and I usually always we usually get to meet with the winemakers and those that are running the vineyards, and I pull them aside and I'll have a little chat. Every one of them almost unequivocally has said exactly what you said. Don't do it. You will not make any money. And so I'm going to California, and they also add that if you would have started in the 70s or 80s, maybe. But now with so much the regulation on top of it, and they said you can't make a dime. Don't even waste your time. But I mean, it's still every time I go back, I'll ask them the same questions, because I'm like, boy, I could see this as a retirement. But you're saying no way in hell, huh?
Oh, the passion that's coming across from you would suggest to me you probably need to give it a go. I spent many summers motorcycling around Provence, the south of France, smelling the vines. I got into this whole camping with the motorbike, and French would come and invite you in. You get this cold Pinot Noir in these glass jugs that you just kind of drink. It was just, I had that visceral experience in south of France. And then when I was amazingly fortunate to work for IBM, doing a lot of, the trade shows in Vegas, and I would go down, and one of my business partners actually moved out to Rancho Santa Fe in San Diego. So I spent time in California, Sonoma. What I really enjoyed were those like heretic winemakers who were prepared to try and create something with a authentic expression of themselves and place. And I felt as though if you could, when you really get into oenology and viticulture, you realize there's an infinite amount of decisions that need to be made that shape that product. And that product is very much it's a real authentic expression of you, the land, the weather. Every year is different. And it's such a romantic, amazing experience, which is amazing. However, when you look at the cost of labor, price of fuel, you get into the like you said, regulations around what you can and can't do in terms of productivity, which it becomes a challenge, right? But certainly a fantastic experience. Which, as I'm talking to you now, I'm almost thinking actually it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I think you had some good times, man. How long did you do it?
I may even join you in California. We can crack a few glasses down. But good luck with that. I think you'll really enjoy it.
How long were you in the winemaking business?
12 years. So what actually happened was, over from where my vineyard was, and vineyards were fairly rare, back then. So this is 12 years ago. There was another vineyard, and there was actually a woman over there called Barbara Laithwaite, who's very kind of famous in English wine distribution. I think she's at MBE, so she's a Dane. The royal family have kind of said what an amazing asset she is to the country. And I jumped over the fence and I spoke to Barbara, and Barbara said, "Ian, don't do it. It's going to be too much money. It's going to take too long." And in my mind, I was just thinking, I'm definitely doing it now. I'm definitely doing it. But she was absolutely right. 12 years later, she was absolutely right.
But you're not making wine anymore, then?
No, just selling it and enjoying distribution and seeing people genuinely enjoy the product and be delighted that English sparkling wine can be as good as champagne and some of the best wines. So,
any reason why you chose sparkling wine versus another vintage?
Yeah, I think sparkling can sustain slightly lower sugars. So if which means sparkling is more suitable to that edge vitifera, the edge of the winemaking region. Obviously, with climate change, England's getting better. You're going to start to see, homegrown Pinot Noirs emerge and those sort of grapes. But in terms of a sparkling, it is actually easier to grow in a slightly colder climate.
See, you've learned a lot, though. I mean, that's something that nobody can take that away from you.
No, just age takes it away. It slowly erodes it as you forget what happened yesterday. Never mind 3 years ago.
Some things you can't control, man. Some things you can't control. I've got a note here that you said something about the gym. Hold on, before we go into tech, are you a gym guy? I mean,
I try. I do try. Yeah, I'm getting older now, but I love to work out and keep consistent, and I find it is an ongoing challenge. I like to cycle as well, and they're good. They're good. Go to the gym aligns with my values of you're never going to have that gym session where you come out and you're completely shredded and you feel amazing. But if you can stay consistent over time and you can turn up, you might not be happy, but you get a session in and you can keep going morning, which I find documenting, using applications like Strava just to keep a journal, really motivating. If you can keep doing it, you do see, amazing health benefits over time. And especially as you get older, I think weightlifting, just keeps you feeling strong and healthy, which with young children is hugely important.
Look, I'm with you. Look, my motto is very simple: to show up, and it tends to work out for me. It's not perfect. No matter what I do, I feel like I got to feel a little pain. That includes being in the gym, and sometimes I can take it a little too far. I think I need to slow down. All right, let's come back to some of the tech. We talk about leveraging data and AI to improve IT operational efficiency. You've got the Lighthouse technology that you're working on now. In between machine learning, Gen AI, everything that's going on, let's start with a simple question. In all of that, what is most exciting to you right now?
Listen, I think you've used the word a number of times, which is ambition. And, we're all on our personal journeys. And there was a few years there where in some ways I kind of lost my ambition and lost my focus. I think, you can be derailed by various reasons, family, personal things going on. But when I look at the phenomenally accelerated development of generative AI in the last few years around, the evolution of GPTs out of the Google labs and kind of the incremental development of those products, what excites me most is, for me, it feels like we're moving into the next phase of realization of human ambition. I know it's very easy to be seduced by talking about this in technology, in IO and blocks of data. But when I actually look at it and you think about language and writing, science and industry, these phases of human ambition where the human was driving to achieve impossible goals that couldn't be achieved within the contemporary social structure, I feel AI, especially through its recent focus on replicating and vectoring human language, it really is pushing us to that next phase of human achievement. And it could be utopian in where it's a very positive augmentation to humanity, or indeed, it could be dystopian, and it could bring along human redundancy, which is terrifying. But the sheer power and potential of what's being built has completely reignited my personal ambition. And I think people around me to really try to get a hold and understand this technology and work out where it can be used.
Is it Gen AI, all of AI? Is it data and AI, or just AI?
I think Gen AI. I think right now it's Gen AI. I think that machine learning and predictive analytics against nominal data sets like pressure in a pipe, or the aging of an oil rig component, or machine learning analyzing traffic on a road. Those are very exciting applications, and they are very valuable applications which have been around a while. But this application against the very nature of human language, which really I see as generative AI being language, visual, sound, the application of machine learning there, and in how it's somehow replicating human behavior, I find very compelling. Personally, I find very compelling.
What's your role right now in Lighthouse Technology? Are you the tech? You the CEO? You playing both roles? What?
Now, look, Ben Ben is this guy I've worked with for a long time, and he was passionate about doing another business. I kind of reluctantly kind of started working with him, and through a period of 3 or 4 months, we've just had an amazing journey where our relationship has developed. We're building trust and bonds. The way I approached this one was, like previously, I always entered these things with a sense of confidence in my knowledge and confidence in my ability. And actually, I entered this one with an acceptance of gaps in my knowledge, gaps in my ability. So, the Baseline podcast, speaking to you, it really is an opportunity for me to go on that learning journey and share some of that with how we're working things out. But Lighthouse is an exciting organization. It's in the IBM ecosystem, so we're working with some of the best engineered products on the planet. I think IBM's excellence in engineering is on another level. Helping that to market and then augmenting the data center with generative AI solutions is just really finding some fascinating conversations in clients that it's a blessing to be able to have, because those conversations really are co-creations, right?
Now, had you co-founded with Ben before or worked with Ben before, or is this your first venture?
I met Ben when one of my first businesses was actually acquired by IBM. And then Ben and I worked on the blockchain business together. And then, actually Ben went back into IBM to work in automation. And then we just got so excited around optimization of cloud and optimization of cloud workloads, kind of came back out, and then we're on this journey again together.
Yeah, nice. So tell me a little bit more about Lighthouse. What is Lighthouse? What does it offer? If I'm a customer listening, where should I get excited as a customer? Where should I be wanting to use this or leverage this technology?
Lighthouse has two key areas. So firstly, we look to optimize cloud environments and prepare for the next phase of AI. If you're moving house, you want to chuck stuff in the skip, chuck stuff in the trash before you move, or you're moving your trash, you're paying to move it, and then you're going to have to tidy it up. So I believe that, like all enterprise organizations and any organization, they need to go through an assessment of their data. Who owns it? Where is it? Do we need to have it? There's a bit of a cleaning up to do on cloud. Is it cost optimized? Are we running the most efficient infrastructure? Are we setting our table stakes of infrastructure up? And Lighthouse helps clients with that, right? We help assess where optimization and automation tools can be applied. And I think that then there's two key innovation motions that are emerging, and one of them is actually before the sale. What we've realized, and working certainly with the Watson XI AI technology, is that the ability to create conversational infrastructure around the sales process. So right now, companies may have a website, they've probably got some PDFs, got some static documents, they may have some demos, some environments in the cloud, they may even have some YouTube videos. Those things are kind of these disparate assets, right? You kind of push to email addresses, you push out to people. Well, I kind of see this world which we're building and we've built around marketing, where you have a single conversational capability, a language model, and that language model has something called a multimodal RAG. So it has the ability to use AI to connect to disparate data sources. So it could be YouTube videos, PDFs, websites, and that AI has the ability to converse with a client or somebody in a way that it is being trained on all of that information. So imagine a client wants to understand a specific application around AI ops in the data center to reduce cost. You could get a salesperson engaged. You could send a PDF. You could maybe send a case study. Well, imagine giving the client the ability to converse with something internet facing that has been trained on all of the case studies, all of the data, that has real-time data feeds to look at contemporary events. So you're moving from this static distribution model of information to allowing clients to lead their own learning and consumption journey of products through conversational AI. I believe websites, PDFs, email, we're looking at a mass redundancy of those products over the next 3 to 5 years as humans prefer conversational interaction with systems and data. That's one, right? The second one, which is the real opportunity, I believe, which I'm super excited about, that's going to require a whole load more of serious engineering, is this idea that the data center currently is maybe with one of the big hyperscalers. Clients in all my conversations over the last 6 months are realizing by going into a hyperscaler, you've lost all competitive advantage from your infrastructure. And there was an era, where we were building things that gave competitive advantage, algorithmic trading, where we were building algorithms to hold transactions in memory to allow banks to do trades faster. And then we moved into this cloud phase where it was highly commoditized. Everything was normalized. Every company had lost competitive advantage through speed. And, indeed, AWS is owned by Amazon. So if you're in retail, you're even using the infrastructure of your number one competitor, right? So it's got a bit messy. And I think with the advent of AI and quantum, we're back in the arms race for success. So customers are looking to repatriate workloads to their own wholly owned data centers where they can build competitive and commercial advantage. And to do that, they need to reskill and restaff and rebuild that muscle that allows them to run their own storage, infrastructure, compute. It allows them to take control of privacy, client security, trust with their clients. There's no more CrowdStrike failures at Azure that take out all of our critical infrastructure. They're taking back control of their client data and those trusted relationships. But there's one little fly in the ointment, and it's that those teams have been disbanded. Those skills have gone as you've trusted the cloud provider. The cloud provider wanted that because they take control. So if you're going to repatriate, you need help with that operational layer. My belief is that as we sit here now, that is a prime application for generative AI, a generative AI layer that lays over your compute storage network applications that allows you to speak to your data center in a cohesive manner through conversational language and get all of the information about performance, risk, compute, capacity that you need through speaking to it. And yes, it's a little bit sci-fi, but the technology's there, and it's how we can harness that to do it. And that's what we're doing, and it's very exciting.
Well, look, I got to make sure I get it straight. Let me repeat them back to you, and I want you to correct them for me. You said 2, I kind of got 3. Hear me out. First one is you're optimizing cloud environments, assessing data to better optimize, if you need to move data or otherwise, but you're optimizing cloud environments, number 1. Secondly, you're exploring the opportunity to have a competitive offer against the hyperscaler, which is really back to the data center. And then third, you have the ability to create conversational infrastructure on top of everything. So not only conversational infrastructure, but you can essentially add conversation or interactive conversation around the sales process. So let me try it again. Optimize the cloud environment, get back to the data center, and use conversational AI on top of all of those to make it possible.
Yes, it feels like too much, but this is how I think about it. I think we're in a very digitally aware culture where show is more important than tell. And what I've realized is getting into critical infrastructure into the data center, you have needed to have built trust with the client. You need to have demonstrated this technology. So when I looked across the application of where we can apply AI and RAG, actually within that whole marketing data, that complex situation that isn't really working right now, we could apply this technology there and demonstrate the value of putting a conversation layer over information. And by demonstrating it that with no business risk, but actually showing clients and vendors how powerful this technology can be, then I think the next stage is then, okay, well, how do we actually bring that value, that conversational value, to the systems themselves? So I think there's probably a chronology to this, Al, in terms of the adoption model.
Hey, podcast listeners, Al here. I hope you guys are well. I spent a lot of time talking to Ian because he's so fun to talk to. We talked about all kinds of things, as you've heard. But we're going to dive further into Lighthouse Technology when we return next week, part 2. Stay with us. See you.